Welcome to the Business Buyer Diaries. My name is Nathan Platter. I'm a full-time employee, and I bought a business. I did everything right, from finding the deal, handling all the due diligence on 63 opportunities, and ultimately bought a profitable gym. And boy, was I in for a big surprise as a new owner. I chronicled everything in real time, including the biggest wins to the stressful nights at 2 a.m. I'm sharing my journey without sugarcoating anything, so you don't make the same mistakes that I did. Here's today's episode.
All right, well, I'm calling it for the day. I am wiped out. You can probably hear my voice, but not a long work day. Along 2 work days. I did an all-nighter last night because I was trying to get a project delivered for the day job, and unfortunately, updating the data systems works like at 1 o'clock in the morning, 3 o'clock in the morning, but once people start getting online, stored procedures start to run, the computers and the servers that every company uses, they usually trigger their updates to run at like 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning, 7 in the morning. The people are working online during the day, so the servers are running and they're busy handling with like data pushes and data pulls, and so I can't update our core system. It's the updates that I ran ended up not fully implementing. And so my report that I was going to deliver and present today basically was not able to load. So basically everything I worked on, all the scheduling and the structuring, I got like the architecture and the layouts done, but couldn't have delivered today. And I ended up doing an all-nighter, and I got like 2 hours of sleep this morning. And now at the end of the day, setting off all my triggers and all my procedures to run middle of the night. And then they should be done in the morning. Should be. Just tired I'm learning I have a lot more like negative thoughts and like self-doubt, especially with this. It's really weird with the day job. And normally like it's helpful working on the business and on the studio because I have that as like a plan B. So if I got fired randomly, I can go and apply for jobs. I could probably land one in 30, 60 days. Not at the same pay rate for sure, but you probably land something that's comparable to make sure most of our bills are paid. But then we've got the studio that has merchandise, memberships. We're doing a lot of promotions. I'm really geeking out on the sales and the marketing and the process flows for having those come in. And so it's helpful having something else in the works. Just today on LinkedIn, there's an announcement that Spotify, a tech company well loved on the West Coast, they're laying off 14% of their staff. 3 weeks before Christmas. And hundreds of people got the notice that thank you for your service, thank you for your time. Here's your severance. Here's your Cobra health insurance. Here's a box. We wish you the best. And you could be an amazing employee. Usually it's crazy, like even in the sales division, like where people think like, oh, they're an expert, they're a pro, they're untouchable. Usually sales layoffs hit an entire department. So if you're a bad salesperson, okay, that makes sense. But if I've known folks that have hit 200% of their quota, gone to club, flown to Mexico a week of everything your heart desires for a week, you come back and your division got laid off. You may have gotten the trip to Mexico, but your team did not, and your team underperformed. And so they're sacking the team and you're starting from scratch. And so it's bad, but that's why there's a culture right now. People are getting accustomed and used to very transient relationships. I don't want to say the good old days, because I don't know if they were necessarily good, but in the simpler old days, when people would get married at like 15 years old, have their first kids at 18 years old, you have all your kids by the time you're 30, you work the farm or whatever, people could not afford to be transient, flippant, or bail or quit on their bad relationships. That also means like if you're in a little Amish community, that if there's a sucky member, then you're stuck with that sucky member of the tribe. But you're also like forced to like shape up a lot better. Otherwise you'll for sure become an outcast. Today, when people are dating, people are delaying adulthood. They're taking more time in college. They're taking more years going to college. It used to be 18 and you're out. Now it's 22, then becoming 25, and now it's knocking on like 28. It's like to move out, get your own place, get married, start a family. And so that same life cycle is now just taking more years to get there. And I have yet to find one person that says they like online dating or they like the modern dating scene, and no one is happy with it. Men, women, everybody in between. Nobody likes the dating scene. People are too casual, too flippant. There are very few key quality, committable people. And I think that carries over to the employment world. If you look at what companies' behavior, they treat their staff as a whole. This is a rule of thumb. They treat their staff as an investment into the business. And if the investment starts to not pay for a certain period of time, you cut off the investment. And then when it's time for that person is needed again, then you bring them on. Case in point are like recruiting and hiring teams. If you're not hiring anyone over the next year, you don't need to have 5 recruiters on your team. So you let them go, you fire them. Then a year later, when you need to hire sales and marketing and warehouse workers, like, okay, well, now we need to hire people. So now you go and find more hiring managers and more recruiters, because now you need that investment, but you don't need that investment right at the moment, but you might need it in the future. It's a very transactional, transient, flippant way to view human beings. And that's a rule of thumb. That's not every company, that's not every instance, but I've seen that pattern over the past couple of years. Along with that, coaches and recruiters and social media experts are telling employees to always be looking to make a job switch every 2 to 3 years. Go for a little more pay, a little more responsibility, change of scenery. There's always going to be an onboarding period of like 3 to 6 months, probably 3 months. After that point, you get into a groove, you get your role, and then once you hit your 1 year mark, you have your little celebration. Once you hit your 1 year half mark, you kind of have capped out at your capability. You start casually job searching for your next place. Once you hit your 2 year mark, boom, you have a job offer for a pay raise, a little more responsibility, and boom, you're now off to your next job. And it's very transient. So there's a lack of trust of employees trusting their employers and employers investing into their people as humans, not just human capital assets that have a shelf life that you can toss and then recoup. Where we go with this whole monologue: employers, employees, relationships, transient stuff. Can't remember. But right now, with working the crazy hours for the day job, back in my mind, yeah, tomorrow they could fire me. It could be because I'm ugly, I spoke up too aggressively, I spoke up too wimpily, and I'm not engaging in team meetings, I didn't deliver a certain amount of revenue, project took too long, project was too quick, and when you're in an awful state, any day could be your last day. And so always having conversations with people all going on is going to be important, and making sure you're providing for your family is going to be vital. And I don't like that I'm choosing that mentality, but I think that's wise to do in a world that's very non-sticky. The age of the 30-year with a gold watch situation with your employer. I only know one person actually who has personally had that. It doesn't help when I'm 33, and most folks who have had that were not like 60 or 70 or 80. But you always got to be looking around, always looking out, and commit to when it's your turn to be in a committed spot, but also be ready that if you're going to get blindsided or get hit up by something, that you have at least a first spot to go. And so that's one thing I'm really looking forward to with these studios. It's a lot more stress because the losses are tougher. If you don't have a job, you just have bills. If you don't have members for your business or customers, well, now you have a business payment and you've got bills. So now you're doubly screwed. Oh, wait. I need to go to bed. And so all of that to say, I still find more comfort in having a business that's going to be more self-sustaining, that has that growth, that upside, and I'm never going to fire myself. I may have to work crazy hours, but I'm also working for myself at the end of the day. And as an employee, I'm working to build up somebody else's thing, and that's fine. That's okay. But for me, that bugs me a little bit. I'd rather build something up that I can keep, hand off, sell, or bequeath to somebody else. Let's go get some sleep. It's, 10:20 at night. Got 2 hours of sleep this morning. That's going to get 6 hours, 7 hours. Probably 7 hours of sleep. Let's rock and roll.
This has been another episode of the Business Buyer Diaries. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. I hope you're realizing that business ownership is no cakewalk. Check the podcast notes for a link to the DIY due diligence program, the complete list of show sponsors, and for media inquiries. Music written and composed by Wes Schrock. I'm your host, Nathan Platter. Join me again on the next one.